Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It's Wednesday, and oh man, it feels good to say that again. Last week saw AEW return to Wednesday nights after a string of Saturday and Friday night shows that were just absolute death. But now we're back on Wednesdays, and tonight was Road Rager, which means AEW is finally back on the road after 15 months not touring. Insane. We're finally getting back to crowd shows for wrestling. WWE is going to start up. I think next week is the first one for SmackDown, and then Money in the Bank, obviously. So it's nice to see that things are slowly getting back to normal as more and more people get vaccinated. If you still haven't, don't be an idiot. Just go get the shot. It's free. Doesn't hurt you. And you do your part in helping everybody else. So
yeah.
Coming up on the podcast, just to go through, well, this is obviously our AEW review show. Me and Joey are back doing this since it's back on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. So welcome back to anybody who has missed us. On Thursdays, you have Ryan and Angela's Impact Power Hour. We're coming up to Slammiversary. So we're going to have predictions for that. We're also coming up to Money in the Bank. We'll have predictions for that. And we also now cover Raw every week. So you can check out our Raw review on whatever streaming service you're on or on our YouTube channel, because we post our podcast on YouTube now. So be sure to follow us over there and also follow us on Twitter. We got quite a bit more followers in the last 24 hours.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, we shot up from
nice.
215 or something to we're in the 230s now. So shout out to those 15 or 20 people who followed us. So if you listen and you don't follow us, be sure to follow us on Twitter. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
And also feel free to interact with us.
Yeah. But back to the Raw reviews real quick. We review Raw, so you don't have to watch it. So you're welcome.
Yeah, I guess so. You can be like Buddy Murphy, who admitted today that he did not watch the product.
You know what? I bet he's not the only one.
Imagine working there in WWE and also having to watch 5 hours of Raw.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them don't.
So that's what's coming up for the podcast. I'm sure we'll eventually get back to reviewing New Japan. It's just been kind of all over the place with their schedule lately. But I'm sure we will eventually get back to that because we do enjoy the New Japan product. So
absolutely.
All right. That being said, be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you're not already. We would really appreciate that. Helps us out. And without further ado, let's get into AEW Dynamite Road Rager. The first match of the night was Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall in a strap match. Gonna be honest, I really don't like strap match stipulations. I don't think I ever have since I started watching wrestling. The idea that you have to get to all four corners.
It's
I think it's
goofy.
Pretty fucking dumb, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like these guys may do. This was definitely the smart idea to put this on first.
I was just about to say that.
If this went on later in the show, I don't think this would have nearly been as enjoyable to watch because they opened with Cody's entrance. We didn't see QT's entrance. We just got Cody, so you had the huge reaction from the crowd.
QT got the jobber.
Yeah, jobber QT, dude. We'll talk about it after we finish this, but oh man. All right. Anyway, so Cody. So this was an interesting match. Again, the crowd really loves Cody. So whatever you see online about people complaining about the guy, I mean, just watch the show and you'll see with crowds. Literally, Cody never gets booed. I really had no care about this match. I just wanted this feud to be done. So oh well. Aaron Solo and Nick Comoroto were at ringside. Dustin came out to equal things up in Cody's advantage. At one point here, Cody got to 3 corners, and then the lights went out quickly and came back on. Commentary acted like it was possibly because of the storm in the area. But the notable thing was that the camera cut to the stage. It was showing the stage. It didn't like keep on the same camera. So that was my clear indicator.
See, I didn't see that.
Yeah, when me and Ryan were watching, we both questioned it. I looked at it and I said, "Oh, well, Cody reacted to it." And they changed the camera, so I felt like something was up.
Yeah.
But then we talked about it and had because obviously me and Ryan's dad lives in Florida, and so we knew that there's a hurricane and the weather's been bad. So it was. I feel like they did this in a really smart way, and they had the
Yeah.
advantage of having. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Okay, I'm glad that's going to make it on the podcast.
Who was that?
That would be Ryan returning from 7-Eleven.
Why is he yelling? Why does he have to yell like that?
I have no idea.
Oh my god.
Anyway, they definitely have the advantage of having the weather being the way it is for them, because they could, like, again, as you texted in the group chat, like you said, Hurricane Elsa strikes.
Yeah. See, I didn't really like put much thought into it because I feel like stuff like unlucky stuff like this has like
It's happened
kind of
before.
tends to happen to AEW
Yeah.
sometimes. So like, oh, I mean, they're in Florida, they're in Miami, like there's a hurricane going on. I mean, I don't really know what part of Florida it's going on in, but I'm sure like most places are feeling the effects from it in Florida.
Yeah.
So I was just like, hey, maybe that's just what it is. They're, yeah.
At this, so the match then went on, and as we were watching, I jokingly said to Ryan, "Oh, for the next, like, we have 3 more shows announced. We have 2 weeks of Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. Clearly, they're going to do Cody matches on the 2 weeks for Fyter Fest, and they're just going to take the lights out in the match. It's going to be teasing Aleister Black,
right?
But we'll talk about that later. But I said as a joke in the group chat, and I guess Pat bombs are back. But yeah, we got a rest of the match, and it was a strap match. Cody won after nailing QT with 3 crossroads. He won. That's all that matters. And the fact that nothing happened after this match with them, I'm assuming this is the end of their feud.
Yeah.
Which, all I have to say, R.I.P. to the Factory. That feels like a dead faction already.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, let's be honest.
I feel like a Go-Go was their last hope to like give it some kind of life. Yeah.
I'm sure Go-Go will be fine when he comes back. He'll probably just be solo, or he'll have QT as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that faction, they be dead. Right. So yeah. After this, we went backstage and saw Shawn Spears and Sammy just like pegged him with a chair. And Sammy said that their business is far from over, and he called him a bitch.
Yeah, sure did.
After this, Tony Schiavone's in the ring. Kenny and Don Callis come out. We have a great chant that starts as Don Callis starts talking of "You got fired," and he says, "Real men don't quit; they get fired." This was in reference to Don Callis being fired as an EVP at Impact. But it was nice to see some continuity here, thanks to the fans. Yeah. The Dark Order comes out to a massive pop. Evil Uno comes in, gets the cheap pop by saying it's incredibly hot in here in Miami, and they start talking. And Uno asks why Kenny is ignoring the #1 ranked wrestler, and Omega says that Evil Uno is a smarter person than a wrestler. So what is the capital of Thailand? And then he kicks him in the nuts and says, Bangkok.
Yep. That's on par for Kenny Omega, honestly.
Then Gallows and Anderson come out, and we have a big brawl with Kenny, the Dark Order, and Gallows and Anderson and the crowd is erupting with cowboy shit chants and Hangman Page chants. His music hits, and my God, this man is over. Adam Page comes out and takes out Anderson and Gallows, and he has a big stare down with Omega. But Kenny ends up running away. It's also interesting, before we continue, that when they first started the promo, they referenced that Omega doesn't have anything to do for Fight for the Fallen. I can't imagine them doing Omega and Hangman at Fight for the Fallen.
I don't think they are. I don't think they should. Right. Yeah, that's an all-out match right there.
Yeah, that's literally like a headliner pay-per-view.
Like sold out, yeah. Especially after like the huge pop it got. Like, my God.
So my theory is maybe they do like, I don't even know, maybe they do like an injury angle for Page where like Kenny takes him out or something, and so the match gets delayed to All Out.
Yeah, I feel like they have to.
Because otherwise, what else do you do? Like, they've already teased it. So I have no idea how they're going to get around this. And now that they said Fight for the Fallen, I have no clue.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just do like a 6-man with like Page and some of the Dark Order guys versus Kenny and the Good Brothers.
Yeah, they could do something like that.
That'd be fun.
That'd probably be good.
Anyway, I thought this was a really fun segment, and again, I said it last week, but Paige continues to be one of the most captivating people in wrestling right now, and clearly the fans are behind this man like fully.
Oh, it's insane.
Like this man could come out and have the worst botch of all time, and they would still love him.
And it's crazy because he like got his like most popular like during the pandemic era, where there was no crowd. So like the fact that like he's getting this like like these like this reaction from the crowd is just really impressive.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and it shows that like AEW is very capable at building talent. And it's like, again, they didn't create Hangman Page. Page has been around for a while in Ring of Honor, but they've definitely elevated him to a higher level, I would say, and they've really just like genuinely told a very good story with like his friendship with the Elite, and then him and Kenny becoming tag partners randomly, and then the whole fallout and everything, and then him going into this depressed arc and joining Dark Order, kind of, but not really. And now he has to face his like demons with Kenny, and I think it's really good. It's just genuinely good storytelling. So, I'm very excited for whenever this happens. Moving on, we have a Jim Ross sit-down interview. Say what you want about Jim Ross. The sit-down interviews he always does are really entertaining, and
he's so good with them. Like,
he's so much better.
And like, why he can't translate that into...
I don't know, but I would be perfectly okay if they eventually transition him off of commentary and just have him there for either special occasions for like calling big matches or whatever, and then use him for stuff like this.
Yeah,
because he's really good at this, and he adds like credibility as like they're talking about coffin matches. And Joey, I know you were upset or annoyed.
I was not upset.
You were annoyed that that Jim Ross kept saying that it was the first ever coffin match, because obviously casket matches have happened. And Ethan Page alluded like that, Jim Ross is like has a very like storied history in wrestling, and he's seen so many things, and so he can attest to what like coffin matches will be. And so I think that having him there is like a mediator between two young talents to like really put them over. I feel like that definitely outweighs him on commentary, either burying the product or making weird botches, like calling it WWE Dynamite.
And at the same time, he also like showed like concern for both of them. Like,
absolutely.
Like he was trying to give them advice. Like he didn't want like them to like end each other's careers, like stuff like that. So,
I definitely
he's
think
perfect
he's
in that role.
Yes, agreed. He's much better suited for that. But yeah, this segment was another really good, just like promo segment with Paige and Allen. This is easily this is a match I'm very much looking forward to. Everything that Ethan and Darby have done in AEW so far has been like money together, and so I'm expecting this to be killer. And they officially did announce it that it's next week. But really good promo, just talking about their history and why Ethan wants to end Darby's career. With his like jealousy that Darby got to AEW before him, and has gotten more successful in wrestling in shorter time than it took Ethan. But I'm looking forward to this. I think this is gonna be great.
Yep, I agree, 100%.
After this, we got the Inner Circle: Jake Hager, Santana and Ortiz versus Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, and Wardlow of the Pinnacle, with Conan and Tully at ringside. This was your pretty standard 6-man tag for AEW. It was fun. Everybody got to do their stuff, but there wasn't anything big here. The Pinnacle did win with Wardlow pinning Jake Hager, which I think was the right decision.
I was thinking that too.
He definitely deserved to get the pin back on him.
Absolutely.
After the match, Conan gets in the ring, and he has the sock full of coins and starts spinning it over his head and hits Wardlow in the back. And then Tully comes in and chop blocks him, and the Pinnacle run away as Santana and Ortiz check on Conan.
Conan has had it rough.
He has
appearances on AEW.
I am happy that Conan is like seemingly like a character now in AEW. I really like him with Proud and Powerful.
Absolutely.
After this, we got the shocking announcement that this came out of nowhere for a big IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match next week. And this would happen to be Carl Anderson challenging Jon Moxley.
Yeah, they just love doing this. This is the second time they've had for this title. They've had like a shocking like defense, or like Nagata, where that was out of nowhere too.
That was out of nowhere. This has some level of history, as Anderson and Gallows have noted before. When they were negotiating their last WWE contracts, when AEW was first starting up, they had talked to the Bucks about coming in, and the plan was for them to attack Moxley, and that Anderson was going to eventually challenge Moxley for the U.S. title. But obviously, they re-signed with WWE, and then they got released during the pandemic last year and went to Impact. But they have New Japan deals, and so now it's finally coming together. So this was originally supposed to happen a while ago, but now it's happening now. I'm not going to complain. Carl Anderson is actually like a very underrated like singles wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely.
So him and Moxley should be really good, and they officially did announce this later on in the show for next week. So
yeah, what is your thoughts on the outcome?
Whew, man, I don't think Anderson's gonna win that. I thought Kenta was gonna beat Moxley, and he didn't. So I'm just never gonna bet against Moxley now. He's never dropping this title.
Yeah, right. They're just gonna give it to him.
The fact that they also announced that New Japan announced that Anderson and Gallows are going to be in that tag team tournament for those awful looking trophies, the fisting trophies. I feel like they're going to be shoo-ins for that.
Oh, true. And then Moxley is going to be at that Coliseum show.
Yeah, so I don't think Anderson wins.
Yeah, I think he might lose it there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who they have challenge him there.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It could be what's his name? Tanahashi.
Yeah, I would. Again, I feel like they might want to fly in like one big New Japan, like mainline New Japan talent, and if it is, I think it should be Tanahashi.
Yeah.
And to do Tanahashi versus Moxley, that would be like a guarantee way to get people to go to that show.
Absolutely.
After this, we get MJF and Jericho's face-to-face, where they're going over the stipulations for how Chris Jericho can earn a match with MJF. And again, some pretty nice continuity here, where MJF brings up the past, where he says that he references the Moxley feud with Jericho, saying how what's his face?
He made Moxley fight everybody
in the inner circle.
Yeah, inner circle.
And so he says that he likes that idea, and he's going to take that blueprint and make it better. He says that Chris Jericho is going to have 5 labors. 4 of them will be stipulation matches against opponents of MJF's choice, and then the 5th match will be against MJF, where he'll finally get it through his thick skull that MJF is better than him. And Jericho says that if he can't get through these, maybe he doesn't even deserve to be in AEW, but he does accept them. And so, yeah, so with Jericho hinting at the whole maybe he doesn't deserve to be in AEW, do you think they're going to make it like a stipulation match between him and MJF, where it's like a retirement match or something?
I don't know.
I don't think they should.
Yeah, I don't think they should either.
I think MJF should beat Jericho.
Right.
And so I don't think Jericho's retiring yet. So
no. Yeah.
Again, I still think the more interesting stipulation would be hair versus hair. Because Jericho has really grown out his hair. Yeah. And MJF also has like a nice head of hair, where like either of them bald would be like a shocking thing.
Right.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm also interested on who he chooses for his.
Yeah, because the fact that he said like
he didn't say
it's going to be his members.
To the Pinnacle. Yeah.
No. So I wouldn't be shocked. So Tony Khan obviously went on Busted Open earlier today, and he said that there was going to be some surprises coming for AEW. We did get,
as he said in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, we got one, technically 2 tonight. We'll talk about them. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like how Jeff Cobb, if you remember, this is actually a nice callback to the Chris Jericho
that feels so
Moxley
long
thing,
ago.
because Jericho brought in Jeff Cobb to face Moxley.
That's so crazy to me that I keep on forgetting that Jeff Cobb
was in AEW for a match. Yeah. So it could be something like that where like he faces off against like maybe they do like Jericho and Wardlow, and Jericho and Shawn Spears, but then like there's two other people who are like surprise appearances.
Yeah, I wonder what those stipulations are going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Jesus
I also
Christ.
wonder like when the first match is going to be. Maybe Fyter Fest night 2. Is there a night 2? Is it?
Yeah,
is
it's
it
2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks. I think. Yeah, I think they definitely kick it off at Fyter Fest week 2. Just because again, this is. I'm assuming MJF and Jericho's all out, so they got to start these up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I really hope for? I hope that the final one is Chris Jericho in an MMA cage fight with Jake Hager.
Yeah. And yep.
Christ.
And he delivers Jake Hager's first MMA loss.
Dude, please. That'd be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Book it.
I have no idea. I don't know who I would predict for this. Obviously, the notable thing is you have a bunch of people coming up on their non-compete clauses for the WWE releases. So you have options, but we also, as we're about to get to, had somebody who did not sit out their entire non-compete clause and opted to debut before it ended. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But
also, back to the opponents, I could definitely see like MJF make Jericho wrestle like one of the Inner Circle members.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know who though.
Yeah. Could be Jake.
Could be Jake. Yeah, could be Jake. I feel like Sammy would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
Just because of their relationship. And there'd be a stipulation where, like, if either of them get DQ'd, Jericho can't wrestle him or something. I don't know. They would make it work. I trust them. But that's actually an interesting idea that MJF would make him wrestle one of his friends.
Yeah.
If you had to choose like an out there person, somebody who's not on the roster, that you could see MJF picking, who do you think it would be?
I'm gonna go with Morrissey.
W. Morrissey?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with W. Morrissey.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna go Chavo Guerrero.
Okay.
I think that would be an interesting one, just because Chavo still wrestles, and I think that the idea would be it's somebody from Jericho's past.
Yeah. They were close, you know. Him and Eddie were close, so like,
exactly. So Chavo, I think, would be an interesting one.
Would.
And it's not somebody you have to sign; it's just like a one-off thing.
Yeah, you know, it would be cool if MJF like picked like each opponent that Jericho has. He has some kind of like history with, or like an emotional tie to, or something like that.
Yeah, like he could wrestle Chris. Like he could pick Jericho's father, Ted Irvine, the hockey player.
Right? No, exactly. He could have Chris Jericho wrestle Y2J.
Yeah, true. Oh, dude, they can get Soul Train Jones, Virgil, since he was he was briefly a part of the Inner Circle.
Oh, I forgot about that. Dude, there's so much shit that's happened that just
honestly
just come and gone.
All right. Anyway, after this, throughout the night, throughout the first hour or so of the show, they kept showing at ringside that Jorge Masvidal, Amanda Nunes, and Dan Lambert were all sitting at ringside, and I didn't really even put two and two together that this might like play out. I thought they were just like saying, look, there's some celebrities. Yeah. So, but that was worth noting. Then we got a promo from Britt Baker backstage with Tony Schiavone. And just her doing her normal thing, setting up her match with Nyla Rose at, is that Fight for the Fallen, I think? Or is that next week? I think it's Fight for the Fallen, because next week is Penelope and Yuka.
There's so many specials like back to back to back.
Yeah, it's literally 4
the week after night 2 is Fight for the Fallen, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So 4 in a row. Hey man, I mean, it's a smart business strategy. Announce these 4 shows as like specials. Yeah.
Right.
She did make reference that what's his said that Tony Khan got Andrade El Idolo. And this was in reference to Britt saying how much money she's made Tony Khan, and that Tony doesn't care about her despite all the money she's brought in for AEW after Nyla powerbombed her through the table last week, and says that basically Tony got to spend his money that Britt has earned on Andrade El Idolo, so it's worth it. And maybe so says basically that she brings up blood money and ties it in by saying maybe next week AEW can run in Saudi Arabia.
That was
This was such a good line,
oof.
and the crowd reacted to this as you would
the crowd
expect.
reacted, yeah.
This was a
That was
very,
great.
very good burn. So this was something. But Britt's great. She's on fire, and hopefully the women's division can get proper booking for her, because it feels like we've made a lot of strides, and then they've taken some steps back. I feel like we're a long way from where we were earlier this year with like the lights out match with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker.
Yeah, so, I agree.
Hopefully we can get more consistency. But yeah. After this, we get Andrade making his in-ring debut for AEW. He faces off against Matt Sydal. He's accompanied by Vicky Guerrero and his assistant. And he's out wearing a suit that he removes from the back and his black mask. The black skull mask looks really nice. Yeah. It's your pretty standard debut match. It was just Andrade getting in like all of his big moves. He got his like moonsault off the top that like he misses and then ends up hitting with another flip. Always looks good. Got in his big running meteor in the corner, and he's still using the hammerlock like DDT as his finish, but it's now called El Idolo. So his name is Andrade El Idolo, and his finisher is El Idolo. So yes. After the match, he took his belt off and grabbed Matt Sydal's arm, put him in an arm bar, and wrapped the belt around his arm and then pulled back on it. So yeah, I'm assuming that will be his submission finish.
Yeah. With the belt and everything? Wait.
Yeah, every week he's bringing the belt in. I hope. Yeah.
The ref just allows it.
Please. After this, we got a video package highlighting Christian Cage and Matt Hardy's feud. It's still so weird that it's 2021 and this is like a prominent feud in AEW. I'm not complaining. I think Matt Hardy's like a very great heel character right now, and Christian's like killed it since he came back. His matches have been really good on Dynamite. Yeah. It's still just it is just like it's very surreal to see Christian wrestling again, like on a regular basis after like 7 years without him or whatever. Or I don't know. When did he? 7 years. So very surreal to see Christian wrestling, and it's just very weird to see Christian and Matt Hardy wrestling in AEW. But not complaining. Right. I'm excited for their match.
Honestly, it makes sense, and you don't have to worry about who wins this because it's not like anyone's getting like it's not like a young talent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like whatever. It's like whoever wins. You know what I mean? Like.
I don't know who I think should win this. I feel like Christian makes the most sense, but Matt could also win, and then challenge for like the TNT title or something.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I do think Christian is going to turn heel sooner rather than later. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I think he should.
So yeah. All right. After this, as soon as this happened, as soon as we saw Arn Anderson in the ring, I told Ryan, I think my idea might actually be happening because I was like, why the fuck is Arn Anderson back out here?
Yeah, I was wondering too. Like, what the fuck are they doing back out here?
And so Arn starts talking about how great it is to be back in the crowd, and then the lights go out, and oh baby, Tommy End officially shows up in AEW. But as Jim Ross continues to call him Tommy End, Excalibur keeps correcting him and saying, "No, it is Malachi Black."
Right.
And Malachi Black, it's Aleister Black, Tommy End, Malachi Black, whatever you want to call him, but he does have a different look. He has like bruising on his eye, and like a contact like a colored contact.
Looks dead.
And he absolutely obliterates Arn Anderson with a black mass.
Oh, I'm so glad he's still using that.
Cody sprints out, gets in the ring. They look at each other, and then he takes him out with another black mass. And the crowd is going absolutely ape shit for this.
Dude, pop.
This was an insane debut.
I can't wait until WWE fans say that he's overrated.
Oh, I'm sure they will. So yeah, I mean, hey man, I'm very excited for this. He was absolutely wasted in WWE. And again, it's like He was released at the beginning of June, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
that's about right.
so very clearly, this man did not wait for his 90-day compete clause.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as I mentioned, I'm assuming Tony Khan offered him a shit ton of money and probably gave him some creative control with his character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also worth noting that Malachi Black did post a whole like vignette on his Instagram today. That did seem to indicate he would not be going back to
Yeah,
WWE. With one, how violent it was, with him literally murdering people in it,
right.
and the whole like imagery of him breaking free from the handcuffs. So very
Yeah.
excited for him in AEW, and instantly positioned as a top guy feuding with Cody.
Oh, absolutely. So when do you think that match will take place?
Fight for the Fallen.
Okay.
I
I
think.
hope. Yeah. I hope he just needs to like absolutely murder Cody. I think.
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of similar to Brody versus Cody the first
Mm-hmm.
time, where it's just an absolute squash,
Yeah.
and it instantly establishes him. And you can write Cody off for a little bit, and he can have
Right.
some time with his kid.
Yeah.
So I hope that's what happens. But I also wouldn't be opposed to them having like like an actual match, because I'm sure it would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as Malachi wins, then all good.
Uh, just give me just make Adam Page champ, right? And then just give me Black and Page
Oh, that would
as
be
a
really
feud.
good. That would be
Yeah.
fantastic. But yeah, very exciting stuff. Literally, Tony Khan says, "I have surprises," and literally same night we get the debut.
That's insane.
Wild.
It's crazy because like at some point we're gonna like look back at AEW, right? And we're gonna like realize that like all the talent they have on their roster at once, like not being only being like 2 years old is insane.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it right now and do that. Like
Right, that's what I'm saying.
the
Like
the
all
roster
at
they've
once,
established,
it's it's fucking insane.
wild. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Absolutely came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
From there, we got footage of what happened before Dynamite went on the air tonight, with Ricky Starks taking over the ring. And he had a whole security team with him and said he's not medically cleared yet,
Mm-hmm.
but he can't trust Brian Cage to not put his hands on him. And he makes a reference to Brian Cage's wife, and then Brian Cage comes out to run after him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited for Cage versus Starks.
I love this. I actually like where this is going.
Yeah. Do you think Ricky has a chance of beating Cage,
I
or?
think he's gonna win.
Okay.
And I think Team Taz might turn on Brian. Like I see that, like I can tell that like obviously Taz is kind of like still playing both sides, as he was like, this is embarrassing, why do you need security and stuff, but I think that just might be a front. And I think because we've already seen like the tension between them and Brian clearly isn't on the same page as them, and
Yeah.
Team Taz sees that, I feel like.
I thought the same thing. Ryan brought up the point that, like, as you said, that like Taz came out and was like basically
Mm-hmm.
saying that this whole thing is embarrassing. He said Ryan is now in the camp of thinking that Team Taz and Cage are going to turn on Ricky, and Ricky is going to be excommunicated from the group.
I mean, I guess it could go that way
I
too.
could see it going either way at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
I just think for like the shock value, you want to have Ricky win the match.
Yeah,
take the title off of him just to add more drama to the situation.
I agree. I agree. I don't think it really matters in hindsight, because I don't know what Ricky would even do with the FTW title.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the title doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't, no. Unless they make it.
Unless they could. Who knows?
Because TK did say like
he did a while
ago. Yeah,
yes,
that eventually, like
they
never
wanted to
really
do
said when. So I mean, this might be the something.
That's true, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
We got a mixed tag match with Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander versus The Blade and Bunny. They teased some intergender spots at the beginning. Didn't happen. Then it just became a regular, basically, mixed tag match for a while. I will say, The Blade has Orange Cassidy's number, dude. This is back-to-back weeks he has knocked him out with brass knuckles.
Dude, for real. I do like the spotlight Blade's getting, though, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
mind it. And I like him and the Bunny together. It's a shame that Butcher's not around because he's injured, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway, we did eventually get some intergender stuff. Chris Statlander did get to hit the Area 451 on the Blade. And then she did end up hitting the Big Bang Theory on the Bunny, and her and Orange Cassidy won. So I thought this was fun. The crowd seemed really into it towards the end as well. So I thought it worked.
Yeah, they love Cassidy, and honestly, they love Statlander too.
Yeah, true.
You really tell.
We saw brief footage of Jungle Boy getting a trophy for being the first person to 50 wins in AEW. So congratulations to him. This kind of felt randomly put in here. Like this felt like something to put on Twitter, but all right.
Yeah.
And
then,
it's
okay,
Yeah, it was fine. It's not like an actual issue.
If they're going by wins and losses and all that stuff,
then it makes sense. Then we got it. We got Tony Schiavone at ringside interviewing. He says we have Jorge Masvidal, Amanda Nunes, and Dan Lambert here. And Dan Lambert, being the heel he is, grabs the mic and he introduces Jorge and Amanda Nunes to the crowd and then starts walking into the ring. And he says he was skeptical of even coming to the show tonight, not because he's got better things to do, but it was more simple than that. AEW sucks. He said Tony
honestly,
Khan,
this swerved me. Honestly, I didn't know who Dan Lambert was. Honestly, because I don't know. I just never paid attention to Impact
MMA?
like that before, or MMA.
Yeah.
Was he on Impact or something?
Yes. So this is the only reason I know who Dan Lambert is because I have paid attention to Impact for a few years, not like actively watching.
Yeah. See, I have not.
Exactly.
Until Ryan started watching it.
Yeah. But so he was Bobby Lashley's manager in Lashley's last run in Impact, because obviously Bobby Lashley did Bellator for MMA. And
makes
so
sense.
Dan Lambert is the head of American Top Team, which is an MMA group. And so he was Lashley's manager. And this man, I don't think before this he had any involvement in wrestling. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. Such a good fucking promo as like a heel.
Yeah.
He knows exactly how to work the crowd, and he's just like, his delivery, absolutely great.
I feel like you just know what to say,
Yeah, I've seen people like comparing him to like Jim Cornette if Jim Cornette wasn't like trash.
Yeah.
He's
right.
So, but he comes out and basically says that Tony Khan invited him to the show tonight, and he thanked Tony for it. But he said that if he wanted to enjoy a night of wrestling, he'd watch wrestling from the 1970s and 80s, because the sad truth is wrestling has gone nowhere but downhill since the late 90s, and this product is unwatchable. Brilliant.
I just want to know, like, we got to get to the who interrupts him.
Yes. And he said that Tony pitched AEW as wrestling done right, but he said that the lesson he learned tonight is to always trust your instincts. And then Lance Archer's music comes on. Lance sprints down to the ring, beats up Dan Lambert, sets him up for the blackout, and nails him with it. So Dan Lambert has eaten a blackout. So that was that. And yeah.
Yeah, so so what goes from there? Is that, you think it's just like a one-off thing, or?
So I'm interested in this because Dan Lambert is currently involved in MLW as a manager.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like he's
another wrestling promotion.
Yes, so he works for another wrestling promotion
that doesn't have a working relationship with AEW, correct?
Not necessarily. Brian Pillman Jr. is still under MLW contract, if I believe correctly, but he's in AEW. So I have no idea. I don't know what his contract status is, if he's out of a deal with MLW.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he appeared on this show, I feel like something has to be going on. I have no idea who. Like, again, Dan Lambert, great manager for Lashley. He was fantastic. I am now interested, and they had him get involved with Lance Archer here. It'd feel very weird if this was like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like a lot of people don't know who Dan Lambert is. So having this random guy show up and then never show up on TV again would be very just like strange booking.
Hmm.
But I'm interested to see who he could possibly bring in to feud with Lance Archer.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know like if it's from. I don't really know MLW if it is MLW if that's a possibility. I don't really know their roster that well. Like I know there's like that Hammerstone guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea who's in his faction in a or
Oh
MLW.
yeah,
So
true.
no idea. Also, you do have the possibility. Somebody should probably say it of Jorge Masvidal. That like he's been
Yeah,
at a number of AEW events.
could just go that route.
So they could go that route. I have no idea. This could go anywhere. I really have no predictions.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I thought this was a solid segment. This kind of came out of nowhere, but I wasn't complaining because again, Dan Lambert's a very entertaining heel. And yeah. After this, we got our main event, which was the AEW World Tag Team Championship Street Fight. Eddie Kingston and Penta versus the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks come out, and guess what? They have shaved. Gone are the mustaches.
Wow, it lasted so long.
Kenny still has his. Kenny still has
Yeah, that
what
is
he has.
interesting.
So, but they come out with Don and Nakazawa, and Brandon Cutler, or not Don. Sorry, it was just Cutler and Nakazawa. Anyway, this was kind of it was a crazy street fight in the main event. There were streamers everywhere from the Young Bucks entrance.
Mm-hmm.
We eventually got thumbtacks towards the end of the match. There was, I believe, tables. Yeah, there were tables.
There was a crazy Canadian destroyer like to the outside.
Yep. We eventually got the Good Brothers coming down to interfere, which led to the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian, showing up to even the odds.
Yep, always there.
Yeah.
I feel like he needs to get some more hunters with him, right?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, like,
it kind of like screwed him in the end.
Yeah, well,
just being by himself.
When the Good Brothers came out, I said to Ryan, I was like, "Oh, well, we officially established that Anderson is facing Moxley next week for the U.S. title, so I feel like Moxley might show up and Kingston and Penta might win." And then we saw Frankie come out in the hoodie, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's Moxley!" And then no, it was Frankie Kazarian. But Ryan said like, "Oh, maybe like Moxley can come out, and maybe Phoenix is back, and they can even the odds here because like 5 on like 3."
Yeah.
But that did not happen. The thumbtacks ended up paying off in the Young Bucks' favor. They stuffed Eddie Kingston's mouth full of thumbtacks and super kicked him for the win. And both of the Young Bucks laid on top of him to pin Eddie Kingston to retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships.
Interesting.
Do you have any idea, like, who do you think is the team to take it off them?
Dude, I don't know. I feel like the Bucks just like can't miss right now, and they're just obviously on top of the game. I don't know. I feel like if whoever's going to take it off them needs to be like a well-established team. But honestly, I just truly don't know. Like who do you think?
Personally, I still think it should be Santana and Ortiz.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that.
I think the smart thing would
that's probably like the most like established team that could probably do it.
It'd be them or like FTR. But FTR are heels and Proud and Powerful are faces. I think the smart thing to do would be Proud and Powerful versus okay, so I think you should probably do so I think you would do Proud and Powerful versus FTR for the number 1 contenders at All Out and have Young Bucks maybe face like Dark Order at All Out or something. Or like the Lucha Bros. And then I think Young Bucks retain there. And then I think you should have Santana and Ortiz win the titles at that New York show. Because they're from New York.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So I think that should be what they do. I feel like that makes the most sense.
That'd be great, yeah.
So, but that would be who I would pick. But yeah, so that was Road Rager.
Yeah, that was honestly really good. I really want to, really Curious how the ratings are going to be on this one.
Yeah.
Because this was a great episode. Like, this was great. Like,
yeah, I'm
besides
interested.
besides the one incident with the one crowd member.
Oh yeah, I completely skipped over that. I
Yeah,
completely forgot. Yeah,
yeah.
MJF and Jericho. As
Yeah,
Jericho
that
came out, a
segment was
fan rushed the
great.
ring.
But yeah, regardless, that segment was great. And I want to say them two, like, the way they just like went right into it and just kind of like,
Worked it into it, yeah.
yeah, and then like didn't even like get a chance to collect their thoughts of what just happened. Like, you saw that Jericho was kind of like looking both ways still, because you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just the fact that they just handled that like so like bam, like just went right into it. It was great.
Yeah, agreed. I'd give it a thumbs up. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't hate anything on the show. Seeing Malachi Black debut and Dan Lambert was pretty cool. Main
yeah,
event was awesome. The only thing I really could have done without was QT and Cody, but we're done with
yeah.
that now, so at least that's a plus.
Yeah, that is true. So there's some breaking news actually from PW Insider
Okay.
about Tommy End or Malachi Black.
Yeah.
So they're being told that back when Tommy End was moved to the main WWE roster several years ago, the company failed to update his contract from the 30-day non-compete clause to the 90-day one. So it's a huge error. So that gave him like
So he got to get paid
be
for that.
free.
Yeah, and then
So
nice.
they screwed up supposedly. So now PW's like saying like the natural question is going to be like whether other talents had the same error, allowing them to appear ahead of the 90 days. So
interesting.
it seems like that's a huge mistake on WWE's part by not updating that back then.
I feel bad for anybody in NXT now because I feel like that's definitely going to get rectified.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, before we end this though, so you know how like Tony was talking about surprises. You have any surprises for All Out? You think anything? You got any like bold takes?
I mean, it's in Chicago again, and I feel like everybody's always going to say CM Punk.
I was going to be the one, and
I don't think it's going to happen.
Listen, I don't think it's going to happen either, but I want to say this: if Punk comes back to wrestling, the one person that can get him to come back is going to be Tony Khan. That's my take.
That's probably fair. I also feel like
if he ever comes back, it's going to be Tony Khan to do it.
I also feel like if Punk's looking at a roster for like people he would want to face, absolutely. I feel like AEW would feature a lot.
It's a no-brainer. Like, and it's a no-brainer. And Punk isn't dumb or anything. He's not going to like go back to WWE just for, if he ever were to. You know what I mean? If they allowed him back.
Yeah, I feel like
how the product is now, because he's been very critical of it. So.
So I'm looking at the WWE releases from this year.
Mm-hmm.
There is still one big wild card at play that I don't think nobody has any information on this, and that's Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that is true. He has been very quiet. Like, there's been no Daniel Bryan news for
some time.
How long has it been since his contract?
I have no idea.
Was it like May?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I mean that's obviously going to be a wild card that could show up at any point, anywhere, or he could just end up back in WWE.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I still hope Buddy Murphy makes his way to AEW. That's a talent I really think should be there, and I feel like AEW kind of knows to get him because Kenny Omega's been fairly outspoken that he wants to wrestle Buddy Murphy, and Buddy Murphy has said the same.
Yeah.
So that would be one. I still think Iconics are probably going to end up in AEW just because of the Shawn Spears connection.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Perry, aka Lana, I think will probably, if she stays in wrestling, I think she'll go to AEW just because of Miro.
Right.
And I would probably say Ruby Riott would either go to Impact or AEW.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with all those.
Other than that, I can't. There's nobody else I can think of unless they do like a huge thing where there's like a New Japan talent on the show.
Yeah, they could definitely do that as well.
That could happen. I have no idea what other surprises could be in store.
Yeah, which makes it
which is pretty exciting.
I mean, it's very exciting stuff. I think this summer is going to be insane for AEW, and yeah, let's just keep it going.
Absolutely. And keep it going we will, because next week we have Fyter Fest Night 1, and they announced the full card. We have Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy, Darby Allin versus Ethan Page in a coffin match, Ricky Starks versus Brian Cage for the FTW Championship, Penelope Ford versus the returning Yuka Sakazaki, Hangman Page will address the crowd, and what I'm assuming, I actually don't know. Yeah, I would assume this is the main event. The IWGP United States Championship is on the line. Jon Moxley returns to AEW to defend against Carl Anderson with Don Callis and Luke Gallows in his corner. So another pretty big week. 2 championship matches and a big stipulation match in the coffin match. So and also again the return to Moxley, and it's a New Japan title on the line. So I'll be interested to see what next week does for like audience wise.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think that's everything. You have anything else you want to say?
No, that is it.
All right. Well, then we thank you for joining us, everybody. Welcome back to our Wednesday night Dynamite reviews officially, and we're back on the road with crowds. And we'll talk to you next week for the AEW Dynamite review. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy any more wrestling you watch. And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace.